Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Be Victorious. My name is Theodora. I'm so excited and so happy to be here with you tonight because I'm alive. I know some of you were like, oh, she's got COVID. Oh, how are you feeling? Listen, I'm great. I'm so grateful to be here because I have an amazing guest coming to talk live with us. And this is part of the learning of how to be victorious is to just be present sometimes. You know, we're here. We have an ability to do this live from home, and we're live. And let's just go learn how to be victorious. Stay with me because my guest, Richard Cromar, is absolutely amazing. We're going to learn so many things from him. I promise, it's going to be worth your time to tune in, say hi, share this so other people can help. You know, we can help others, and chat with us. We'll be right back. I'm so excited. Thank you for being here. Richard, you're the best.
Awesome. Excited. Thanks for having me on your show.
I appreciate you so much. It's such an honor to have you as my guest. I can't even comprehend that I have, you know, such a celebrity on Be Victorious to learn from. You're a celebrity. Don't play small. I know.
Thank you.
Richard, how do we know each other? I'm just gonna go right in it. I know we're gonna chat here for a little bit, but how do we know each other?
So we met on Breakthrough Walls and with Ken and Ken Walls. And then after that podcast ended, you actually reached out to me and we connected. And then I was actually in Colorado for a quick stop through and we connected there. And you took me to dinner, which was awesome and totally unexpected.
I don't remember that I took you to. I think we met for dinner.
We met for dinner, but you paid, and I was like, no, and you were like, no, I'm paying. And that was so sweet of you and your daughter to do that. So anyway, that was awesome.
We had an amazing time, and I know that Alma was so. She was like, I don't know, Mom, who's this? Like, what? Where are we going? It's dark. We're going to the hotel to pick up somebody. Like, what? But at the end, she was like, Mom, you have cool friends.
Yeah, that was really cool. And it was so cool to meet your daughter. And she's so sweet and so smart and so happy. And that was really cool to see. So anyway, that was a fun meetup.
Yes, it was such an honor to meet you. And it's true. We did. Kian, you know, is such an awesome influence and mentor in my live academy journey. And so seeing you on his show and hearing your story was just very inspiring. So I thought I would interview you here so that I can help other people learn from you because you have a lot of good stuff to share.
Thanks. I'm all over the place.
I think you're amazing. Where do you live now? Where's home? How does your story start? Where were you born?
So I currently live in Bountiful, Utah. I was born and raised in Sugar House, Utah, kind of the Mill Creek Sugar House area. Most people are familiar with that area when they come to Salt Lake City. And it's kind of the heart of Salt Lake City. And I grew up in that area till about 18 years old and went to Highland High School. And then after that, actually put papers in to serve a mission for my church. And I actually served a mission down in Colombia, South America for 2 years as a young man, from 19 to 21. And then when I got back from my mission, I went to college and then met my wife, my first wife. We got divorced a short time later. And then a year after that, I met my wife, who I'm with now. We've been together for 16 years, going on 17 years.
She's so gorgeous.
Thank you. Yep. So I did have a little girl with my first wife, Summerlin, who is also literally at this moment also preparing to go out and serve a mission for our church as well. She got called to Milan, Italy, and so she'll be leaving us on October. I think it's October 11th, so just a couple weeks, and then she'll be off for 18 months, and then yeah, we're gonna miss her. And so I had her with my first wife, and then my wife had two kids. They were 10 and 5 at the time, and my little girl was about 2.5 years old. And then we had one together. So yours, mine, and ours.
That's so cool. I want to talk about that. I feel like so many people maybe are resistant to go into a relationship with somebody that already has children because it's so hard for kids to accept another parent, or for the parent, and maybe I speak from experience here, or the parent, or the person coming in feels like would come into something to disconnect or take away from. Like Alma and I have such a strong relationship, and I did feel that resistance from her going in. So how was your experience, going into a blended family? Teach me, what do I do?
Yeah, it isn't easy. It's very, very hard. And they say statistically that, divorce rates are even higher when you combine a family. And so if that's something that you're looking at doing, or you're currently involved and you're starting to see some of that friction, you really have to like be all in. And a lot of times, you can see a lot of the friction doesn't necessarily happen with bringing the family together. Sometimes the friction happens with the external family members, embracing these children that aren't theirs,
Yeah.
and really accepting them into the family. And so sometimes those things can actually be the factors that really kind of weigh on that new relationship. So in my situation, we had a little bit of that, but overall, it's been really good. I would say that the first, because her oldest was 10, and then her second, child was 5 at the time, and I would say, they hated me for the first, I'm going to say 14 years of this.
What?
And it was really, really hard. And there's just so much. Our story is incredible. It actually goes really, really heavy, really, really deep. There's some crazy, just kind of like woven things in here that happened. And, I don't know how much we want to talk about that, but, but we got to a point where, they became older, and I had some opportunities that presented themselves that really allowed them to view me in a different light, and they love me now. And it was one of those things where I didn't see it coming. It came, it was super emotional. I call her my daughter. I actually don't call her my stepdaughter, but my stepdaughter, a couple years ago on Father's Day, she ended up writing me this really beautiful, Father's Day card that basically said, I look at you as my dad more than my biological father, and just some things that really happened that I didn't expect to happen. And so when you're in it for the long haul, you got to look at it like a marathon, not a race. And so with that said, it's give me just one sec. I've got
I have that too.
my computer is blowing up. Turn it off. There we go. My goodness. So so there's some really hidden blessings that came to light in that. And so we could totally talk about that if you want to, because there's some really cool things that happen
We
there.
can. I would like to say hi to our viewers in the meantime, Rick. I have Sandy with us. I don't know if you know Sandy. She's in the academy as well. Sandy Archer. And then my dear sister, Lynn Serrano. Hi, Lynn. It's so good to have you here with us. And Sandy Archer says hello. Yeah, I feel like relationships are, you really truly have to know, what are you in for? Are you going into this relationship for, building it, or letting it dissolve with every problem that arises, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Because, but at the same time, children are, I want to say we want to protect them. Maybe we're overprotecting by allowing them to be like all over the decision maker. And so it's such an interesting duo of making that decision of, you know going with it. And who's really the decision making there, the child or the parent?
Mhm.
We have to, but at the same time, I don't want to hurt my daughter and let her hurt because she feels like she's not heard or loved. If I make, the when your stepkids hated you, do you think they felt that they're not being respected or loved? I don't think so.
No, I mean, man, we gave them a really, really great everything, right? Really great birthdays, really great Christmases,
Yes,
a nice home to be in, um, food. I mean, you name it, activities. They were enrolled in sports,
right.
everything you can imagine they wanted to do. We were trying to make those things happen just so that they could feel normal and integrated.
It's
And
just their way.
but there's just other external factors that come into play, and everybody's story is going to have a unique twist. I have another buddy that had gone through a very, very terrible divorce, and it was parent alienation in the worst way possible. One of the worst cases that the state of Utah has ever seen, and the amount of lies that were told to the children about their father that were absolutely not true, absolutely distorted the way that they now view their dad. And now that he was able to win some of their time and integrate them into his new marriage, those weighing factors that he's not able to correct or help the children see him in the light that they used to see him has completely destroyed the relationship, and it's extremely hard for him every single day. And so his children that once adored him, they adored him, now want nothing to do with him. And he comes from this place of love and patience unlike anything I've ever seen,
Yeah.
and comes to the table every day to give them his very, very best, even though the whole thing took a totally different turn than you could have ever expected. And it's so sad to see, but there they are, battling this, and they're in the trenches with them every day. And their goal at this point is to just hopefully help them be able to take care of themselves once they turn 18 and
Yes.
maybe want to leave the nest. Where I look at my situation, man, I'm super fortunate compared to his situation, because yeah, these kids just had a hard time accepting me as this new guy into their life, but eventually it completely turned a different way, to where they actually view me as like, wow, this guy Rick, like,
He's a good guy.
he's a good guy, and like he really gave us a lot and gives us a lot. And man, we took that for granted, and now we don't want to take that for granted. And it's really beautiful, the relationship now.
I agree with Lynn. She says it's great your stepdaughter has you as another father figure.
Yeah, and it's beautiful, and I feel super lucky.
Yes. I also know that you're an amazing music creator. Is that correct to say?
Yeah, so I have a few talents that kind of happened, and I can't read music, but I play the piano. I play by ear. I can sing really, really well. So I actually used to sing at the Venetian Hotel from 2002 to about 2006, on and off. So if you ever went to the Venetian Hotel and was on the gondolas. I probably rode you maybe a couple of times, might be in one of your
Are
family
you
albums.
the guy who sits up there and just pushes the gondola and sings?
And sings it, yeah. So I did that for a little while, and that was a lot of fun. And then recently, I've been playing the piano for, gosh, I'd like to say at least 30 plus years. In fact, I still have the same piano that we grew up with as kids. It's kind of just more of a memorabilia piece. I mean, I'd love to get a, baby grand or something, but it's one of those things where it's like, man, that's the one we had in our house since I was 8 years old or 9 years old or whatever it was, and kept it. And so, so just this last year and a half ago, I released my first small album. It's called Creative Lullaby. So it's really easy listening music, but they're my compositions. There it is. Yep. So you can find it at richardcromar.herenow.com. That was the website that was created for my first album. But you can find it on any major platform. It's released everywhere, Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes, you name it. It's out. YouTube Music, TikTok, I think even has it now. So sing something. So if you type in Richard Cromar or Creative Lullaby Volume 1, Volume 2, you can listen to my compositions. I did release my first single as well. The single is about my nephew who has epilepsy. And this is a very controversial topic, but I'll bring it up. So the song is about my nephew. He was actually vaccine injured when he was a little boy. And so he was born completely normal, was fully functional. And then during one of the child vaccines that he received, it didn't actually do well with him. And he ended up, he's, I think, 16 now, but he functions at the level of maybe 7-year-old. Super, super sad. But, my brother's daily battle, his family's daily battle with him. So the song is called Hope for Holden. So if you actually look up Hope for Holden by Richard Cromar, you can listen to that song. But I wrote that song. I was home alone, and the words and the music, the tune just came to me. And I was in absolute tears writing this thing, bawling writing this song.
Is this correct?
Yeah, Hope for Holden. Yeah. So if you guys look that up, you can listen to it. That's one of the songs that, but it's a song that I wrote, composed, played, and sang, and I even did a little video edit for it on YouTube, so you can see some of the pictures that I attached to that.
That's awesome. Wow. I want to know. I know you went through some accidents.
Did.
And I know that your relationship, from your past growing up and going in your missions, your relationship with God is very strong. And so is mine. I have a really, really strong relationship with God. But I want to know, during your accidents, you had some miracles happen that were really just pure God, like not only holding you there, but even after. I want to know, maybe for moms that struggle with seeing a way out of a situation they're in, or for somebody who says, I don't believe in God, or how do we help them not necessarily believing, but getting there to feel his presence, or building that relationship with God that is everything we are and we do and we have is only possible because we have his support?
That's a really great, deep question, because you do hear a lot of people when they are in the thick of it, or, something has happened, people tend to want to blame God, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if God is God, if there is this loving God, why would he or she, or whatever
that's common.
That is, why would God allow this to happen if we have this loving God? And I think what we need to remember and really look at is that we are spiritual beings sent here to earth to have a mortal experience. And in that, God created what's called free agency. or agency, right? And in that agency, we are going to have these experiences that are either going to turn our hearts toward our Heavenly Father and recognize Him as our Maker, or completely turn away from God and want to blame Him and be angry. And so, because of that agency, we are going to face these mortal experiences that are going to be hard. And some of them will be trials related to maybe children that have cancer, and your child passes away at 3 years old or 7 years old, and it's like, well, how could this happen? Why me? Why this child, God? um, the same thing that happened with my nephew. It's like, why? How? Now my brother and his wife and their family have to care for this child for the rest of his life, probably due to this vaccine injury. And so there can be anger towards that, I guess. And really, the way that I look at finding peace and forgiveness and love is understanding that this is gets to be my brothers, and in their case, their mortal experience in caring for this child through his suffering, through his pain, through this injury. And I firmly believe, this is my personal belief, that these things will be made whole in, if you're a believer in Christ and you're a believer in Christianity and you believe in the resurrection. I believe that these things will be made whole in the resurrection. And we're also going to be looked at how we carried ourselves through that mortal experience. And did we turn to God, and did we serve, right? So now I look at my brother, and his situation is they get to serve this child for the rest of his life. And that's going to be a huge, huge blessing in disguise. And I think that when he's made whole in the resurrection, that reunion will just be incredibly overwhelming. And I think that's going to be the same thing with anybody that's had a child that maybe, again, childhood cancer, or somebody that was, taken too early from this life due to maybe a car accident or something. I think all those things are going to be experiences that they're going to be able to look back on and find that God was actually there the entire time, that He allowed us to experience that, whatever the pain of that is, to draw closer unto Him.
100%. I love the way you describe that. And I love, just your way of explaining everything we do here is for what's waiting for us there. And it's just a whole circle, I think. It comes together. And it's only possible by living a good life here, aligned with, what's given for us. So I love that. Thank you for explaining. Beautifully said. Lynn is right. And yes, you're just, I appreciate you so much. You're so awesome.
Yeah. And I think in that too is we can't compare. And I talked about this in Breakthrough Walls as well, is there's this thing that we do as humans where we compare ourselves, right? So we say, well, how come, Elon Musk is crushing it, right? And just absolutely dominating this thing called life. And how come I can't have that, or whatever, right? And we can't do that to ourselves. When we do that to ourselves, all we're doing is adding to the pain of something that we can't fix, or we can't make happen differently. We can't compare ourselves. We're all on our own journey, individual
It
journey.
takes so much away from our own joy.
Yeah.
I think being able to recognize what we have and stop whining and complaining. I was talking to somebody on the phone today who was like, oh, there's traffic. And I said, well, let's figure out ways that you can, what can you do during that traffic so that it's productive? Or maybe you listen to something, a book, or maybe you make some phone calls, or how can you, use that time to your advantage. But speaking of books, give me some books that really made a huge significance in your life and helped you be victorious like you are?
So there's quite, man, that's a loaded question.
Just
There's
two
a
or
lot
three.
of books. So I'm in sales, and there's one book that I absolutely love. I actually adopted all the principles taught in this book. I live by them every day. It's called The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. And I just love the way that he wrote the book. It's, in fact, if you're a Christian, it really will align with your Christian principles and turning to God for help. And so that's one book that I highly recommend, even if you're not in sales.
The
It's
Greatest Salesman in the World?
Yeah, The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino.
Okay. I wrote it down.
Yep. So he breaks this story down into like 10 different scrolls, and they're basically different things that you need to learn to adopt into your everyday living. And so as he goes through those, one of them is I will form good habits and become their slave. The second one is I will greet this day with love in my heart. I am God's greatest miracle. I will live this day as if it is my last. I am master of my emotions. So he goes through all of these different things that I absolutely love and live by. So that's one worth reading. This hopefully this doesn't turn off any of your viewers. This is personal, but I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And we have something called the Book of Mormon. We also believe in the Bible, but we also have something called the Book of Mormon. And the Book of Mormon is a book that absolutely shaped my life. It shaped who I am. It's something that has drawn me closer to God. And so that is definitely a book that has absolutely changed my entire life and my family's lives. But yeah, so people always ask, well, what is this, the Book of Mormon? Why is it called Mormon and all these different things? Well, the Bible is basically the teachings of Jesus Christ in that demographic, in Israel and right,
Yes.
that side of the continent. And when Jesus Christ died and resurrected, and before he went to heaven, they asked him, well, where are you going, basically? And he said, well, I have other sheep that are not of this fold. And we say, well, who are these other sheep? Well, the Book of Mormon, basically, in a nutshell, is the teachings of Jesus Christ here in the Americas, on this continent. And when Jesus Christ resurrected, he came to the Americas to teach the people that lived over here. And so it's the story of 600 BC up until Christ resurrects and comes to the Americas. And it's such a beautiful piece. And so we actually believe in the Bible and the Book of Mormon. And so anyway, so that's the Book of Mormon in a nutshell.
I love that. And I appreciate you saying, the fact that this is what you believe in. And if anybody gets offended or anybody out of my viewers doesn't like this, I started this show and I called it Be Victorious because I want to teach and help everybody be victorious in several different ways. And if, learning from you this piece of information and learning what a Book of Mormon is and how this religion works and believes is what we're gonna get, I'm grateful and I appreciate so much that. And if who doesn't belong here, and I'm okay with that. I just love so much that we are here today to have this conversation because somebody out there needs it. And that's what we're here for. The ones that need it, not the ones that don't.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to get anybody to convert to my religion, but this is a book that absolutely has impacted my life.
And that's how you're victorious.
As a young man, that's what I did for 2 years of my life. And down in Colombia, South America, was literally go door to door and introduce this book to every single person that I met with, and saw their lives changed. And then to this day, I still have those relationships. I made a promise when I was a missionary with these people down in Colombia, South America. And I served in just about every major city you can imagine down there during those 2 years. And I made a promise that I would go back every single year. And I've been able to fulfill on that promise for the last 24 years. I go back every year. I take about 2 weeks, and I go and find every soul that I ever met as a young man. And that's not normal. By the way, most people from my religion do not do that. But that's something that I promised, and I've been able to fulfill on that. And in fact, part of my proposal with my wife was, hey, we're going to get married. We're going to do this. I said, but I have one condition. And she said, oh yeah, what's that? And I said, well, I made this promise, right? I explained the promise. And so I said, whether you go with me or not, I'm going to go down every year. And she said, okay, fine. Well, then I have one condition. And I said, and I said, okay, what's that? And she said, well, then I get to go to Disneyland. And I said, go there. So we shook on that. And what's interesting is for the first 15 years of our marriage, she didn't go. She would just, how beautiful is that I have this incredible wife that trusts her husband to go down into a third world country for 2 weeks. She stays home with the kids, gets them to soccer, gets them to where they need to be, zero complaint, right? And she's also helped me fulfill this promise that I made. And here's what's crazy about that as well. Sometimes when I've left to go down to Colombia, South America, it has been within a 24-hour turnaround where I will just get this incredible feeling that I need to go. And I will turn to my wife, and this has actually happened multiple times, where I've sat her down and I said, hey, I need to go. And I go, is that okay? And she'll think about it for a sec, but without hesitation, she'll go, if you feel you need to go do your thing. And I'll book a flight that same night and be gone the next day. And I have incredible, incredible stories though, of how that actually aligned in whatever way while I'm down there with where I felt God needed me to be at a specific time. In fact, when I'm down there for those 2 weeks, I don't plan out, hey, this day I'm going to this city, then I'm going to go to this city, then I'm going to go to this city. I actually go down there and pray and say, Heavenly Father, where do you need me today? Where do I need to go? And sometimes it'll be like, you need to fly to this city, or then you need to fly to that city. And I'll go there. And I have just the craziest stories of when I got there, I'd be like, okay, I need to go to this person. We need to go to this person's house. Because I always meet up with, different members of the church,
right,
from that I met. And I'll just be like, I'll get these feelings. I'll be like, hey, we need to go to so-and-so's house. And I'd be like, hey, let's go. And we'd go to that house and some miracle would happen. And man, just really, really cool stories though, that have come to fruition over the years.
That just speaks so high about who you are as a person. And it's just another affirmation that, you, in my heart, that yes, you are just a gift of God to the world.
I try, right? I always hey, I'm nobody. I'm just me out here doing my thing. But I, because I believe so much in it, because I believe in aligning myself with the things of the Spirit and intuition, and not doing my will, but maybe hopefully God's will. I really try to align myself with that. I have one crazy story I'll share with you. It was quite a few years ago. I went back to Colombia doing my thing, and I grabbed, this young man who at the time was probably 20, maybe 22, 23 years old. He had just finished his mission. And he was going with me around to the different cities, and we were taking some buses, and we jumped on this bus, and I just had this really strong feeling that I needed to sit next to this young lady that was sitting at the window seat. And so I get on, and I had this instinct, I need to sit next to her. And so I sat next to her, and he sat right behind me. And I think he kind of chuckled a little bit, maybe thinking I was just trying to sit next to this cute girl or whatever. And then I had this overwhelming feeling that I put my hand on her shoulder. And as I did that, she turned in slow motion. Now, I know this sounds crazy, like who would do this, something like that, right? But I just had this feeling that strongly that's, something wasn't right with her.
Mhm.
And so she turned almost like in slow motion, and she had tears running down her face. And I said, and I can't believe I said this, but this is like what came to me. And I said, "You were sexually abused, weren't you? Sexually assaulted, weren't you?" And she just goes, "How did you know?" And I said, "I felt it." And then I had tears running down my face. And then we ended up talking about my church and what I had done there as a young man. And we talked for probably a couple hours. And then I said, "I'd love to introduce you to the missionaries of our church," and da da da. And then she got off and went on her way. And then I remember my buddy behind me, he just sticks his hand out, and he's like, he had shivers. He had escalofrios, is what we say in Spanish.
Yeah.
And he was like, he goes, "That was he goes, "That was the most incredible thing." He goes, "I heard everything." That was insane. And so I don't know, right? I don't know, but I do try to like align myself with
Yes.
God and his
You're
things.
there. You're there, and through you, the work is done.
I don't know what happened to her. I don't know if she ever ended up talking to the missionaries for my church or not. I don't know. But all I know is that in that moment, I honestly was
Yeah.
called to sit with her and maybe help her through that moment. But yeah, the stuff like that just, I don't know. It gives me the goosebumps,
Yeah. What? How? Tell me about work. Last time you were in Denver, there was some stuff going on with work. What do you do now for work?
Yeah, so I'm actually I've been in sales for 20 plus years, and recently transitioned to a company called Ben Labs and Ben Labs AI. And Ben Labs is a Bill Gates company, so it's not owned by Microsoft. It's actually owned by Bill Gates. And I'm director of strategic accounts, and I work with the world's biggest brands. So Ben Labs does really, really cool stuff. We have exclusive relationships with Producers Guild of America and Property Masters Guild. So what does that actually mean? We actually manage about 90% plus of the scripts that come out of Hollywood. And so we do product placement for big companies. So for example, the Corvette that you guys saw in the Barbie movie, we've actually made that happen between GM and the producers of the Barbie movie. And so we do really, really cool stuff like that. Music licensing. We work with all the big influencers and creators on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and recently acquired a company called TubeBuddy about 18 months ago. And so that's our AI technology piece. And so we work really closely now. We just recently received a global marketing award for best use of data with a campaign that we did with gel blasters. And if you're not familiar with gel blasters, they're the really cool guns, kind of like, Nerf, where they shoot water balls. And so we got a really cool marketing award for that campaign. So I'm director of strategic accounts with them. And yeah, so I work with the world's biggest brands as far as doing different types of campaigns and getting them positioned correctly in YouTube. So YouTube is the world's second largest search engine. And a lot of big companies are revisiting YouTube as a strategic play to grow their brand awareness, monetization, because it's still really unknown. You get a lot of these creators and influencers that take off, like Mr. Beast, right? We actually did a lot of stuff for Mr. Beast when he first got started. And but a lot of these bigger companies out there, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, they actually don't know what they're doing when it comes to organic placement they're really good at spending, right? They 99.5%, paid ads, but they actually kind of don't know what they're doing to you know, be organically placed as the number one, find in the search. And so we actually have proprietary AI tools, which you can imagine, being owned by Bill Gates, that we have access to, that we can actually help a lot of these companies identify exactly who their intended audiences are, who their competitors are and their audiences, and
Right.
also what their audience's buying behavior is. It's really, really crazy how deep this stuff can actually go. But that's what I do.
I I knew you're a celebrity. Now I'm nervous to talk to you because everything you said was like, woo. Wow.
AI is what people are turning to, and sometimes you can get tired of hearing people talk about that so much on LinkedIn and things like that. It's like, hey, everybody's saying AI, AI, AI. Do they really have AI? What is AI? And it's really, really cool how it works. And when you get really granular with it, you're talking about nodes and edges and all these different touch points out there that are happening. But very, very few companies can actually do the level and depth of a technology pull that we do, because of the processing power that's needed in order to do that. It's extremely expensive. And so not everybody, even though they claim AI, can actually do some of the things that, we do.
Wow. You're so amazing. Wow. That's awesome. I'm speechless because I didn't think that you were um your next step to the next position was going to be at.
I'm really fortunate to be in this space. My previous company that I left, they're crushing it. In fact, they just signed a partnership with the Utah Jazz. They're actually going to be on the Utah Jazz jerseys, their logo. And so that's really cool that I was able to be a part of that and their growth. And but yeah, I've only ever worked for the best companies out there with the best brands and the best products. I do like to position myself that way, and be able to go to market with just really, really cool different things. I have a really, really unique employment history. It's not
I know.
it's not typical. It's very, very random. I was head of talent for 2 different organizations, but also involved basically anything that touches revenue. I love to be involved with. So
You're very, very victorious in that way, and I love that. I love that. I want to know what's exciting coming up besides the trip to Milan. But I think if what's exciting um, that you're looking forward to that we should watch out for. Are you coming up with more music, or are you creating
so
still?
my music, the real reason behind my music is I just wanted something there for my kids to remember me by. It has zero anything to do with wanting to become
Still?
famous or anything like that. I literally, my intention behind recording my music and actually putting it out there was so that when I'm not here, my kids can go, there's my dad.
You're so amazing.
That's it. And if it takes off or does anything else, that's great. I know that people enjoy it.
I
Um,
do.
Thank you.
I love it.
uh,
A
I've
lot.
got, in fact, I think my previous employer still has my music as their, what do you call it when you're waiting on the phone, waiting to
Waiting.
pick up,
Hmm.
like their elevator music. They think they use my music as their elevator music when people call in and they're on hold. But it's fun. It's fun. When I'm writing or creating new music, it's generally I'm by myself in the house, and it'll just be a moment of, oh, okay, this is coming to me, and sometimes it only takes me 10, 15 minutes to create a new piece, and then it's done. And then I'll just save it for when I can go down. I have a buddy that lives in St. George. It's about a 5-hour drive south for me. That's where my parents live. And he has a beautiful recording studio. And so that's usually where I go and do my recordings once I can get down there. But yeah, I don't have like this goal of, putting out this album by this time. It just kind of comes naturally. And when I get enough songs to make it worth being an album, then I'll put it together. And, I think that'll be my goal there. But yeah, I just enjoy playing to play. Like if I go to an airport, and our airport here in Salt Lake City has a piano.
I saw that. It's so awesome that you do that for people.
And so anytime I leave on a trip, I'll usually go about 3 hours early just so I can play the piano for people there sitting. And I don't know, sometimes I'll make $20, sometimes I'll make $100 and in tips, and I use that to buy my dinner or whatever and then take off. But just little stuff like that. That's just kind of fun to do off to the side. I really enjoy, I'm a power lifter, so I enjoy powerlifting. And so that's just something that I also do to keep myself in shape. And, but yeah, I mean, other than that, my goals for the next, I don't know, 5-10 years, really just, we're going to be empty nesters in the next, let's see, my son's sophomore year. So what, 3 years is all. And then he'll be out. And so we have some goals. I've mentioned multiple times to my wife that I would love to obviously have a place in Colombia, South America that we can go to, since I've obviously been going down there for the last 5+ years. And she was like, she got on board with it. In fact, my wife and kids went for the first time, everybody, just this June, after 16 years. And they all absolutely fell in love with it. It's so beautiful and green, and there's so many things to do down there. And it's just absolutely incredible. The culture,
a different world,
food, the music. I mean, it's wild. So that would be one of my goals, is to eventually have a place down in Colombia, South America, where I can actually go, and maybe we'll be like, winter birds down there or something. But yeah, just crushing it at work and having fun with it, and building what we're building over at Ben Labs is kind of the focus right now.
And keep going and keep shining and keep being victorious. That's what we do. I have one last question. I don't want to take all your time in the world. We're going a little over here, but I like to ask this question on all my guests. If you were to, I know you share that story with the girl in the bus, but if you were to be here and there's a single mom on the side of the road, and she doesn't see the way out, and she wants to sometimes get better. She's overwhelmed with bills and household and raising the kids by herself, and she wants to get better. What would you tell her?
I would want to find out what she's good at and what her passions are, and then find out why she hasn't gone after those things. What's held her back. I would want to find her why. A lot of people don't know what their why actually is.
Right.
And years and years and years ago, I learned this thing that we did to find people's whys, and it's called 7 layers deep. And basically what it is it's just asking the question why.
7 times.
7 times. Why is it that you want to do XYZ? And the answer might be, well, because I want to be able to retire with lots of money. Okay, great. Why do you want to retire with lots of money? Well, because I want to be able to enjoy this, that, and the other, and go on vacations and not have to worry this, that, or the other. Okay, well, why is it that you want to go on vacations and not have to worry about this, that, and the other? And then the next answer might be, well, because I don't want my kids to have to take care of me in my old age. Oh, okay, great. Well, why is it that you don't want your kids to have to take care of you in your old age? Well, and then it gets emotional at this point.
Right.
And then it's more like, well, because I don't want to be a burden to them, and they start crying. And so you can really get to this really deep level of understanding why it is that you want to accomplish something. And you can have absolutely nothing going for you. But once you understand this why, this deep-seated root as to what's going to really drive you out of your current situation, then anything is possible. Anything's possible at that point. Then the single mom that's worried about, getting her kids to this place and to that place and food on the table and bills paid and this, that, and the other, it all becomes like, it's all of a sudden, it may be a burden, but it's not as heavy of a burden as they thought, because now they've got something that's driving them passionately towards a different end goal. And then they can start really looking at, what are the different opportunities around me that are going to set me free, that are going to actually get me there. And that's where they start to learn that they can actually come out of their comfort zone and really do things that they didn't think that they thought were possible. Like sometimes people think, well, I'm not a salesperson. Rick, I don't have the personality that you have, so there's no way I would actually do really well in sales. Well, here's the thing. Some of the best salespeople in the world are absolutely, completely like introverted, completely not the personality that I have. And they crush it because they learn to follow processes, right? And the process, and this is in general in any type of sales organization or any type of marketing or anything, the process is more important than the product. You can have the most amazing product in the world, but if you're not following the right process in order to get it to market, it's not going to be successful. And so you can take somebody that's a single mom that really wants to understand, how can I create wealth from nothing? And you put that person into a process, a proven process, they can absolutely get themselves out of their situation and create the wealth and lifestyle that they're looking for. I mean, I have so many friends that have come over here from third world countries that have absolutely nothing. And you hear these stories all the time. And it's because they came from nothing, that they understand they have nothing to lose. And so they just go after it, and all of a sudden they're just dominating in whatever space that they're in, because they already understand rock bottom. Once you understand rock bottom, I mean, it really is only up from there, right? And so this single mom that feels like she's in rock bottom, we just got to get her into a process, a proven process that works. And maybe her passion's real estate. Maybe her passion is makeup or something like that. And just aligning her into a proven process that she can be passionate about and just take off. I mean, really, that's what I would find is her why, and then get her into a process that's proven.
Your ways of being victorious, your lessons that you gave us tonight are priceless and worth like thousands and millions of dollars. And I cannot be more grateful than just giving you the world. I wish I could. And the biggest hug when I see you next, for the time and the knowledge and the shared stories and everything you shared with us. It's so incredible. I have no words to thank you enough.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me on. I could literally talk for hours. So
I know. I just want to be respectful of your time and the time of our, viewers. So,
yes,
but I agree with Danny. Danny said he's awesome. And I agree. You're awesome. You're incredible.
thank you so much.
And I appreciate
and if anybody's looking to connect, LinkedIn, Richard Cromar. I do go by Rick, so if you ever run into me in person, you can call me Rick. You can call me Little Chromie. You can call me Pretty Ricky. Like, I have like more nicknames than you can even imagine. But
I don't think Little Chromie is right. I think you're big. I think your knowledge, your presence is way bigger than your height. So don't let people call you that.
Well, that is so funny, because I have such a big personality that when people meet me in person after, like, virtually, they're always like, whoa, I thought you were going to be like 6'5".
I know.
I'm 5'5". I'm standing here 5'5". You know,
I was one of those people. I was like, what?
it's
And
Doug. We got to give a shout out to Doug Wing. All you listeners, you know, we've given a shout out to Ken. Doug actually introduced me to Ken, and Doug is a longtime friend, the Wing family. We go way back, actually worked for the Wings back in the day when I was just kind of blossoming as a professional. And they gave me a tremendous opportunity to work with them. And that actually pivoted me into the direct consumer space, major stepping stone for my career and path. And so Doug actually wrote a couple of books that, in fact, I think I have one of them, both of them. Doug, I have both of your books right here. Totally unexpected. You got The Giver, Doug Wing, and Giant Success. Both of them, by the way, will bring you to tears. These are very, very well written. Giant Success is the story about their dad. And then The Giver is also, I think, about their dad too. But beautiful, beautiful written books. Make sure you guys get a copy. GiantSuccess.com. And you can also get a really cool shirt. You might see my face there too. So.
Doug is awesome. We love Doug. I hope I can have Doug again on my show. We do talk about his first book, and I haven't had a chance to schedule the second book.
There's the lead in. There's the lead in.
There you go, Doug. We have to get in touch. I know. I think Doug is traveling right now, and I'm very excited for his fiance to get to America. So that's super exciting. Very exciting. But Doug is amazing. Yes, the entire family. And oh my goodness, here's this. Book 3 is in the works.
Can't wait for it. Let's get that going. Yeah. I am working on a book too, but I just don't know how much time I can. I don't know, I'm working on it, but yeah, I've got something in the works too. So I'm excited.
I think Doug is definitely beating us with book 3 coming out. We're not even done with our first one. And he's already, but he's a superstar, and so are we.
Rick, well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I love you and your family. And I stay with me for one more second.
I will.
Thank you. I want to thank our viewers. I want to thank our audience who was here with us. I want to thank everybody for sharing this episode so that we can help inspire and motivate others. You guys have a great night, and I'll see you next time.